Hello there.
Welcome back, my friend.
Hello, what have we here?
Jedi, we've been expecting you.
Knew I could count on you.
Hello.
Welcome to the rebellion.
What fun!
Hey everyone, Hybrid here, and today I am taking a look at the brand new Star Wars The Black series, Devon Izara, as she appears in Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. This animated series did not disappoint. All of the characters were excellent, and Devon Izara was that character teased in the trailers from the beginning. She's going to be a Jedi character in a show about the Sith, or I guess the dark side, formerly Darth, now just Maul, right? But Devon has a very compelling story arc throughout the first season, and they set her up for something very interesting in the next season. So she's going to be an interesting character in play, and I am just very excited to have her in action figure form. I think after the first season, which is now concluded, she's probably going to end up rocking a new outfit in season 2, and at this point I like the character enough I would double up. I would buy a different outfit of Devon, but let's go ahead, take a look at the packaging, open her up, and see if this representation of Season 1 Devon is something that you need for your shelf. Let's go. Here's Devon Izara in the packaging. This is your standard Black Series packaging with a big Black Series logo above the window, showing her and her singular accessory off nicely. Number 4 in the line, Devon Izara. Maul Shadow Lord in red. Warning, 4+ Hasbro. Some cool artwork of her on the side, although as you see, there's a lot of space over her head. She's not very tall. Her name down there. Wraparound window, wraparound red stripe, Black Series logo. Around back, a zoom in of her side art, the Black Series logo. A bio about her in 5 different languages. Not really about her, just the show, but still, pause and read whichever language best applies to you. Got the number 4 in the line once more. Some Disney, Hasbro, and legal stuff. Barcode and more legal stuff, and a hanger tab up top. If you've seen a Black Series box before, you kind of know what you're getting here. Let's open her up and see what's going on. Here's Devon out of the packaging. Let's go ahead and take a look at her accessory, being her blue-bladed lightsaber. The lightsaber's blade, again, very blue. Some of these have been pale in the past. Some of them have been even darker. This is a very blue lightsaber blade. I do like the coloring. It gets the point across very well, and it just looks nice, displays well. Her hilt is in that unpainted gray plastic, which I hate, but they did paint the brown leather grip area that she has going on there, and then some of the silver where the brown grip like exposes it, so I don't know. I wish they added silver to the top and the bottom to complement the middle at that point. It has a very large, D-ring hook on the pommel, and then it has a very small peg on the side of the hilt. That is because she has a couple of ways that she would carry this saber in the show, depending on what's going on. The blade is removable and actually has a rather nice long peg on that. Some of them very shallow. I think that one's not going to be one that breaks. That's a conversation. How many of y'all have actually had sabers break? Because I hear a lot of people oh, they need to change that, the sabers break. I really haven't had that many over the years. I don't know. Is it that big an issue? I guess fire off in the comments on that. But she has a hook on her belt there that allows her to wear it in a more traditional Jedi way. Very out and loud and proud. Although, as you can tell from this cloak that she's wearing, now my camera is a little bit angled up so you can see down, but, lining it up to where you're looking at her more dead on, she's concealing her face a little bit with this cloak. She is on the run. She is an Order 66 survivor in an early Imperial world. So, this is... she's not going to be wearing that loud and proud on her belt very often. This cloak, I think considering the mouth thing that it needed to do, covering the lowermost portion of her face, I think it being rubber is okay, but I would have preferred them to try it in soft goods, and maybe they just couldn't get it to lay right around the face. That very well could be the case. But you can remove her head. Pops off fairly easily, and then you can remove this rubbery cloak, and you put the head back on, and she looks like this for a lot of the show. She wears the cloak, at night, hiding out in the alleys and stuff, but when she gets sucked into the adventure, she drops the cloak like most Jedi do to be a little bit more agile. The belt, or the saber, is removable from the belt. As I mentioned, there's the peg on the side. There is a port on the back of her belt. Typically, when she's wearing her cloak, she would have the lightsaber on her backside, so it's hidden. I guess you might want to put it to where the pommel is more to her, cuffed, left hand. That makes it lay a little bit more naturally just against the, the belt. But she does have that nice weapon storage going on. You can kind of see it on the other side around her. But setting that hilt aside, let's take a close look at Devon. This likeness is actually really good. Devon's one of those characters where she's only ever been in animation, never seen her in live action, so they kind of just did the best they could. And I'm okay with this. This looks pretty good. This looks like a pretty faithful recreation of the character. If we ever see her in live action, I'd like them to go back and pick whoever they've put on live action and redo this with that face. But until then, this does look rather nice. Is that a little bit of super glue residue on the top? I think that is. Seems like some kind of glue residue. That's not very nice. The blue eyes are very piercing with all the pink skin going on. You don't see a lot of pink Twi'leks in Star Wars. They're there, but like not the most common coloring. And she looks very nice. The camera almost makes her look a little bit more on the orange side of pink. In hand, she is like bubblegum pink. So the brown, there you go, of like the hat wraps look very nice. And then she's got this blue shirt, looks great with these like shoulder pads and the tan shirt underneath. The wrist cuffs looking super good. Don't know what this wrist cuff thing here is, if it's like a communicator, but this side she's got exposed forearm, pink hands there. The belt is new, and then like the waist piece and the legs are all from Endor Leia. So that's a little bit of an older reuse. Gives you a thigh swivel, so some of the old heads are going to love this figure. But otherwise, it is just some reuse of some older parts. I do generally think that's acceptable reuse, and Endor Leia, even though being a couple years old at this point, is a very good figure. So I think the articulation is going to work out rather well for Devon. And the legs look the part. I'm okay with smart reuse, as long as you're not giving me 2013 Anakin legs with the gaudy double pin, knees that are ugly when you bend them. Like, I'm okay with reusing stuff that's a couple years old, as long as it's like a good looking, reuse. And that's a good case of reuse here. She has a very colorful outfit, as I was mentioning. She's just very visually interesting. It's not just someone in a Jedi robe or anything. Something that I noticed, mentioning that robe, on the inside, there's actually a flat spot with all the Hasbro text on it. She doesn't get text on her feet. She doesn't get, like the white lettering on the inside of the thigh that, like, a lot of figures get. The figure herself actually has no legal writing on her anywhere at all. And that's just something you don't see very often. However, when she is wearing that cloak, you do see it, like, right between her boots. It's very visible. I almost would have rather they, like, put it up here in, like, the small of the back just to hide it a little bit better, but it just is what it is. So, now that we've established that's a very good-looking action figure, let's go ahead and run her through some articulation. There's some modern, there's some dated, and that's just how it rolls sometimes, but she does have that double ball neck system, allowing her to look that far up. That does have the Laku on the back of the shirt there, so that's just as far as it would get, even if the ball joints went further. She can look that far forward, some side to side, pretty wide rotation there. There's a little plastic burr on her chin. There, that's gone now. Her arms are a little bit stiff on the hinge up, but they do come up to a T-pose, and there's a nice butterfly joint in there. 360 rotation at the shoulder with the single jointed elbows going past 90 pretty well, and then swiveling. 360 at the wrist with the left one hinging in and out, and the right one hinging up and down for some nice saber posing. She has that mid-torso bolt joint, and that belt likes to pop out of its groove and travel a lot. So if you get her in a pose, then you might have to like fix the belt back down. But, of course, a twister at the waist. Get a lot of pivot in there, of course. She can crunch that far forward, that far back. The legs do a pretty straight wide split. You can kick straight forward, tiny bit back, thigh swivel as I mentioned. Single jointed knees go a good bit past 90 and then swivel. And then there's no boot swivel, but the feet can point pretty much straight down. If you force them, they can go a little bit forward, and then there's a forward-facing pin for rocker, allowing you to get her into some decently wide stances with both feet flat on the ground. So, oh gosh. And here's Devon with the other Maul Shadow Lord figures that I have so far. Waiting on the 11th brother. I'll have him in a couple of days. But she looks very good, even though she is dwarfed by everyone else. That's just how she is in the show. She's not very tall. They haven't established in the show how old she is. She's like young. She's a Padawan, but I don't think she's that young. She's probably just a short person in the universe. But yeah, the scale looks rather true to what I recall from watching the episodes, and it doesn't look out of place, so I think they all look good together. and will make a very nice looking Maul Shadow Lord shelf. Gosh, at the end of the day, what do I think of Devon Izara? I think she came out really, really well. A little bit of dated pieces, in the legs. They're not bad. They articulate well enough. I think it was smart reuse. Not mad. It made sense. But the rest of the figure, very modern sculpting, very fun to pose. I really like her a lot. The cloak definitely gets in the way of some, but it does add a little bit of aura to the figure. I think ultimately leaving the cloak on is how she's going to be on my shelf, even though it hinders that whole left shoulder and upper arm area. But now that I have her, now that I'm getting her in some poses, and now that I've seen the entire show, Hasbro, where my Iko Diodaki at? Come on. Going into the show, my headcanon, my theories, were he's probably gonna get, knocked out of the scene pretty early on, and, we're gonna see her go pretty dark side by the end of the season. Whereas, for those that have seen it, she doesn't lose him until the end of the season, and now she's gonna start that path in season 2. So he actually had a pretty good presence. So yes, I would like him. Should probably make a video, truthfully, just figures from Maul Shadow Lord we need. I think that's gonna be a topical coming up very soon. But anyway, I think she has great shelf presence. I think she articulates well. She represents the character nicely. And I think that if you enjoyed the show, if you enjoyed the character, you would like adding her to your shelf. So I do highly recommend. That's all I got to say on her. Thank you so much for hanging out, watching the review. There are more Shadow Lord reviews coming soon with that 11th brother. Until then, I hope that you can find some other videos of mine to enjoy. Thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you next time. May the Force be with you. And hope you all have a great day. Bye.